There are countries that everyone dreams of visiting. There are countries that many people dream of living in. And there are countries where the people themselves line up to leave. Bolivia, unfortunately, is in the third group. You know that saying, those who love stay. Well, that's right. Over there, not even those who were born there want to stay. More than a quarter of the population has already said that if they could, they would leave everything behind and go. Bolivia is now the country with the fewest foreigners living in South America. Not even refugees want to stay. But why is this happening? What is behind this silent exodus, which hardly ever makes the headlines? How did a country that was once a symbol of resistance, indigenous struggle, and sovereignty become a place that even its own children want to abandon? Today, on Bello Mundo, we're going to cross that border and understand, once and for all, why no one wants to live in Bolivia. On a continent where everyone migrates somewhere, Bolivia has become almost a blind spot. People leave Venezuela and go to Brazil. They leave Haiti and try Chile. They leave Colombia and cross over to Argentina. But no one chooses Bolivia. The numbers don't lie. Just over 1% of the Bolivian population is made up of foreigners, the lowest rate in South America. That includes everyone, legal, illegal, temporary, permanent. It's as if the country were geographically in the middle of everything, but socially isolated. And that says a lot. When even those fleeing hunger, war, or collapse prefer to skip Bolivia and head for any other corner of the world, it's a sign that something is very wrong there. And if no one wants to come in, the worst thing is that those who are inside also want to leave. A survey released in early 2025 showed that more than 25% of Bolivians want to leave the country, a quarter of the population, and not because of war or natural disaster. It's because life, quite simply, isn't working. This rate is higher than that of many countries in declared collapse. In Venezuela, the crisis has driven millions out. In Bolivia, the collapse is quieter, more disguised, but the effect is the same. A population that feels that the future simply no longer exists there. It's not just one problem. It's a combination of factors, and we start, of course, at the bottom of the pyramid, the economy. Number 1. A stalled economy. Bolivia has had its days of prosperity. In the early 2000s, natural gas became a gold mine. The government rode the commodity boom, funded social programs, infrastructure projects, subsidies, and it seemed that the country had finally found its way. For a long time, gas was a source of national pride. Clean energy, huge reserves, billion-dollar contracts with Brazil and Argentina. The goose that laid the golden eggs. But the country built its entire economy on a single product, and today it is paying dearly for it. Reserves have aged, production has fallen, fields have not been renewed, and international contracts have slipped through its fingers. The result? In 2025, the country faced diesel shortages in several regions and had to import expensive fuel to keep basic services running. Meanwhile, public debt continues to grow. Between 2005 and 2024, the government spent more than $340 billion. Much of this money came from gas. But the bubble burst, and without revenue, without a plan B, and without credibility, Bolivia is chasing investors who no longer trust it. Dependence has become a trap. The gas that sustained social programs, schools, and roads today can't even pay for gas stations. While neighbors such as Brazil, Peru, and Chile invested in industry, tourism, technology, and agriculture, Bolivia waited for gas to yield forever. But the gas dried up, and with it, so did the illusion that having natural resources solves everything. The numbers reflect this. In 2024, growth is forecast at only 1.7%, far below its neighbors. Foreign exchange reserves have disappeared, the country has turned to the IMF, and its debt has been downgraded to junk status, literally. The economic engine has stalled, and with it, any prospect for the future has also stalled. Number 2. Political chaos and polarization. If the economy stalled, politics simply collapsed along with it. Today, Bolivia has become the kind of country where no one knows exactly who is in charge. Worse still, those in power are not entirely sure either. President Luis Arce? He's there, sitting in the chair. But governing is proving difficult. Congress is deadlocked, rife with disputes, and even within the mass party itself, the fighting is raging. On one side, Arce is trying to govern. On the other, former President Evo Morales wants to return with full force and is willing to take down anyone who stands in his way. While the two fight, the country has become a no-man's land. Projects don't move forward, laws don't pass, reforms don't happen. And the population? They just watch, angry, unable to understand how everything got to this point. To make matters worse, in 2024, there was even an attempted coup in La Paz. Troops were on the streets, Congress was closed, and ministers fled the vote. Since then, the country has been living in a climate of mistrust, with strikes everywhere, tension in the streets, and that strange feeling that everyone is in survival mode. The truth is that unlike other countries that stumble but keep moving forward, Bolivia seems simply stuck. Number 3. Healthcare in collapse. And as always, it is those at the bottom who pay the price. The crisis hits first and hardest where it hurts: the healthcare system. Want some data? Bolivia invests less than 6% of its GDP in public health. That's not much, very little. And the result is there, plain to see in any public hospital in the country. Everything is lacking: doctors, nurses, ambulances, medicine, treatment rooms, basic supplies. There are maternity wards that don't have diapers. There are health clinics without gauze. And this is not the exception. It's become the norm. And don't think that money will solve the problem. The private sector is for those at the top of the pyramid, and there aren't many of them. For those who depend on the Bolivian public health system, all they can do is hope they don't get sick. No wonder life expectancy in the country has plummeted. It's around 68 years, one of the lowest in South America, and that says it all. Because when living becomes a privilege, it's a sign that the country is failing at the basics, protecting its own population. Number 4. Education. Bolivia is one of the countries that talks most about cultural identity in the Americas. But when it comes to preparing young people for the future, the reality is quite different. The education system still fails at the most basic level, and the impact of this is evident in every statistic. Today, about 6% of the adult population is illiterate, a figure that ranks the nation among the worst in South America in this regard. But that's just the tip of the iceberg. Most Bolivian children attend primary school, but almost half do not finish high school, especially in rural areas and among indigenous communities. The disparity between rural and urban areas is striking. While urban areas have schools with some infrastructure, internet access, and trained teachers, in more isolated regions, teachers give classes in wooden shacks without materials, desks, or electricity. Children share classrooms with students from different grades, and classes are often suspended for long periods due to rain or lack of transportation. And those who manage to graduate look ahead and ask themselves, now what? What am I going to do? Because the truth is that public universities are broken, broke, and run down. And private universities are for the elite. The result? An entire generation that studies, works hard, struggles, only to end up selling salteñas on the street, working as drivers or, in most cases, packing their bags and leaving. Number 5. The flight of young people. It's impossible not to want to leave, because those who feel the weight of this stagnant Bolivia the most are precisely those who should be building the future. Young people. The official unemployment rate seems low, around 4%, but that doesn't count what's on the streets. Underemployment, informality, work without a contract, without rights, without security. And the few good jobs? They're in the civil service, where, to get one, you need political connections more than a resume. The result? An entire generation with a diploma in hand and their bags packed. Young people between the ages of 18 and 35 who look at Bolivia and see no future. So they start looking for any way out. Those who graduate in cities like Santa Cruz or Cochabamba are not dreaming of a career. They are dreaming of a visa. They are dreaming of a contract in Argentina, a job in Brazil, or any country that pays a minimally decent wage. Because in Bolivia, every diploma has become practically a boarding pass. Not because the country expelled them, but because it never really welcomed them. But wait, there's more. Number 6. Poor infrastructure. In addition to the lack of jobs, healthcare, and education, the country has other problems that jump out at you before anything else. There is a lack of everything, a lack of roads, a lack of water, a lack of access. And without these things, there can be no sustainable development. Today, more than a third of the population lives without treated sewage. In rural areas, the situation is even more desperate. There are places where less than 10% of families have access to sanitation. This is not just discomfort. This is disease. This is dignity being stripped away. The roads? Another nightmare. Most of the road network is dirt with no maintenance. In the rainy season, it simply disappears. Trucks get stuck. Buses can't pass. Ambulances can't get through. There are villages where getting medicine is a mission that takes days, if it arrives at all. And as if that weren't enough, Bolivia has no access to the sea. To export or import anything, it depends on ports in Chile and Peru. And that's expensive. Very expensive. It's bureaucratic, it's time-consuming, it's bogged down. And do you know what the practical effect of that is? It's more than an economic issue, it's psychological. Because when the road doesn't arrive, neither does the future. Number 7. Public safety under threat. Bolivia loves to repeat that it is a peaceful country, but anyone who lives in the cities, or tries to travel through the interior, knows that this is not quite true. And yes, this is one of the main reasons why so many Bolivians want to leave, and why almost no immigrants want to enter. Public safety in the country is far, very far from being reliable. In the 3 largest cities, La Paz, Cochabamba, and Santa Cruz, the number of assaults, thefts, and even kidnappings has skyrocketed in recent years. Data from OC Index show that between 2020 and 2024 alone, the perception of urban insecurity rose by almost 30%. The impact is evident on the streets. Shops are closing early. People are avoiding going out at night. There are neighborhoods where, after a certain time, not even delivery drivers dare to venture. Worst of all, the population itself does not trust the police. And with good reason. There is a lack of police cars, fuel, and salaries, and there are numerous reports of police involvement with militias and criminal groups. In 2023, for example, ammunition manufactured by Bolivia's own state-owned industry was seized from criminals on the border with Brazil and Paraguay. While neighbors such as Peru and Chile invest heavily in intelligence and border control, Bolivia is stuck in the middle, with open borders, weak forces, and crime growing in the shadows. The so-called Bolivian tranquility today is more legend than reality, and those behind much of this chaos have a name: narco. Number 8. Drug trafficking and the economy. Behind much of the chaos and insecurity, there is a machine that runs in the shadows and moves more money than many legal industries. Its name? Drug trafficking. The country allows the cultivation of coca leaves for traditional use, such as tea, medicine, and rituals. Everyone knows this, but in practice, much of this production never ends up in a cup. It goes straight to clandestine laboratories, and from there to the world. Today, almost half of the coca grown here ends up in the hands of drug traffickers. This has created a parallel system, a criminal economy that works, employs, pays, and often rules more than the government itself. The territory has become a free corridor for cartels from outside: Mexican, Colombian, Brazilian. They operate routes that cross the entire country and supply markets in Brazil, Argentina, Chile, and even Europe. And in the producing areas, such as Chapare, it is the drug lords who give the orders. There are regions where the police only enter with permission, and sometimes not even then. The craziest thing, it's not just trafficking, it's a whole economic structure that revolves around it. There are people who plant, refine, transport, provide security, and take care of logistics. There are even those who build roads, crime roads, to facilitate the passage of drugs. For those who live in isolation, crime fills a void that the state has never filled. It generates income, solves problems, and provides jobs. And yes, it also brings fear. Meanwhile, the government pretends to be in control. It pretends not to see. But the seizures at the borders, the shootings, the disappearances, and the trucks full of cocaine tell a different story. Drug trafficking has taken over a part of the country, and no one can stop it. Number 9. Institutionalized corruption. If there is one question that always comes up, it is, how can a country so rich in resources, with gas, lithium, tourism, biodiversity, simply not work? The answer is straightforward and painful. Corruption has become a way of governing. It has become the rule, not the exception. It's everywhere. In small town halls, in ministries, in Congress. It's in the contract for the school that was never built. It's in the health clinic that never has medicine. It's in the asphalt that disappears after the first rain. And this isn't just opinion. It's a fact. Bolivia has one of the worst scores in Latin America in Transparency International's ranking. 28 points out of 100. Just to compare, Brazil, with all its history of scandals, has 38. Uruguay, which is a benchmark, has 73. You can feel the size of the whole. And how does this translate into real life? Easy. There are mayors embezzling school lunch funds. There are ministries divided up among allied parties. There are shell companies winning bids. There are public funds financing campaigns and enriching a handful of families connected to power. In 2024 alone, there were more than 1,000 active cases against public officials for corruption. But ask if anything came of it. Almost none of them end in conviction. Because then another problem arises: a slow, biased, politicized justice system when it's not complicit. The effect of this? An entire country at a standstill. Public services don't work. Investment disappears. The population loses faith in the government, in politics, in the future. And the wheel of misery keeps turning. In Bolivia, corruption is not a scandal. It's routine. It's the system. It's part of the management model. Meanwhile, citizens continue to wait in line at hospitals, dodging potholes in the road, and watching politicians buy new cars, move into new homes, or campaign with money that, in theory, was supposed to change the lives of those at the bottom. Now do you understand why no one wants to live in Bolivia? What stood out to you most about this story? Tell us in the comments. And if you like this kind of content, which shows what no one else is reporting, subscribe to the channel and turn on notifications. Here, every week, we embark on a new journey. Thank you very much for joining us so far, and see you on the next adventure in our Bello Mundo.